So, Chris, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Chris Brown is the CEO of Kaysen Corporation. He'll tell us a bit more about that. He's also one of our chief executive members in our Thursday group, and so, Chris, uh, I really appreciate you taking the time and to be with us and share your experience with Vistage and what it has meant to you. So thank you.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So can you kick us off with just tell the folks listening a bit about yourself, your background, as well as about Kaysen Corporation?
Sure. I'm Chris Brown. I am CEO of Casey Corporation. We have own and operate a portfolio of construction related businesses. Um, I have been in Vistage for about a year and a half, something like that.
Great. And so describe Kaysen. What is it?
Yeah,
I think part of it is the whole evolution from separately held companies to a holding company would be interesting for folks to hear.
sure. So when uh, after owning more than one business at the same time, Casey Corporation was formed to provide a shared services model of management. The intention is to simplify the businesses and to you know get a reduction in expenses, but also uh, at the same time across the board have an increased service presence for things like accounting, marketing, IT, and things of that nature. So instead of having all of the companies have an accountant, we have one accountant for all of the companies at a corporate level. This is largely an imitation of private equity firms, but a very small, uh, a much smaller scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. Good. And describe what each of the businesses are that you have.
Sure. I have a 20-year-old general contracting business that is in Rockville, Maryland, and services the greater DMV. I have a concrete cutting and core drilling business over in Capitol Heights, also servicing the greater DMV. And several years ago, I purchased a residential air conditioning company in the Manassas area, and that's sort of my newest acquisition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. So if you think back, I remember our first meeting there in Rockville. What led you to Vistage? What caught your eye and what intrigued you about Vistage?
well, I am a farm kid. I went to college and got an undergraduate degree, but I don't. Most of my mentors are either expired or retired at this point,
Yeah.
and I've gotten the businesses about as far as I felt like I could get them without some input from people that are other business owners facing the same struggles that I face every day, and also getting some coaching and some input from people that are really servicing the business community in a day in and day out basis.
Yeah.
So I guess I learned about Vistage actually from a friend of mine who was a YPO guy when he was younger, and then he went to Vistage after YPO because
Yeah.
he aged out. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know what the demographic is inside our chapter on
Yeah.
how many people were actually part of YPO prior
Yeah.
to coming
Yeah.
to Vistage.
Quite a
It's like
few.
the right. So instead of being the Y, it's just like the graduated version of that. So meaning Y meaning the young president's organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so Vistage was an easy transition. It was I came for my first visit, Rick, if you remember, and um, I came home and told my wife, this is like the content of the meeting was what I've been really needing as a supplement to my career path to help broaden my perspective and you know help help bring things to clarity. I was really very wrapped around the axle at the time with so much going on between these several businesses and trying to operate them all at the same time. It was sort of a madhouse. So this has just brought a lot of um, a lot of clarity and made a pretty profound difference in the way that I'm my lifestyle, because I don't spend every weekend in the office anymore, for example, which I know is very common amongst us. So,
Yeah, wonderful. Good, good, good. Um, so as you think back over the past year, um, and what would you say have been the most valuable experiences you've had so far from meetings, one-to-ones, retreats, the social events we've done? What would you say the most valuable experiences have been for you with Vistage?
well, I think in a business sense, there have been several key takeaways for me so far in my journey with Vistage. One of which was employing a retention tool for my key people, some of my key people, and probably in the future some more of my key people. Just using life insurance products and things of that nature that kind of hit right at ground, almost immediate impact for me. Because of course we all know that maybe the most important thing in business, at least in my mind, are the people. Um, you need the right people in the right spot, and it sounds so simple, but it's hard to get those people. And then when you get them, the hard part's trying to maintain the relationship and keep them engaged and keep them dialed in. So that was probably, I would say, that was in a business sense, that was probably the most valuable thing that I got out of it straight away. I've met some really amazing people in Vistage, though, who are helping me at a professional level as well. For example, I have a fractional CFO now because of Vistage and because of that group. That's brought a lot of. It's you struggle sometimes to sleep at night because you don't know where the money's going to come from, or you're worried about financing and what if situations sort of at all times, as we all do as business owners. So having that having that help from an objective outsider to come in and give hands on a CFO level has been very valuable to me in my lifestyle. In addition to that, the forecasting and the planning and everything that they bring with them has been really great. Also, I've been using a marketing company uh, that I was introduced to by Vistage to help untangle some um, advertising challenges that we were facing on a business to consumer level, and they're doing a good job as well. This is also at a fractional capacity as CMO, which is not something I ever really thought that I would have, but just kind of worked out that way. So getting to meet these people inside the group professionally is very good.
Yeah,
There are also lots of people, as you know, that are
yeah,
incredibly accomplished and polished and just have seen a lot, have great experience that I enjoy talking to and hanging around with. Uh, I'll say that at a personal level, Vistage has been great for me in terms of meeting some new friends. I think every business executive at some level there's some loneliness because it has to be that way. Uh, you know, we all like to think that we're in great braces with our employees, but the employees, since you're the employer or you're their boss, they don't quite treat you like everybody else. So it can get lonesome at the top, as everybody knows. And the nice thing about Vistage is it's full of people who are in that exact same situation. And for me personally, that's been really great. I went to the retreat last year
yeah,
and spent some, I know that the Visage program is all about business, but there is a social angle as well that I also find very valuable with these friendships and getting a chance to kind of get to know each other offline and feather that out. That was really fun. Spent a lot of time with those folks last year, and look forward to doing that again in the future. And
Well, I
this
mean,
this year's retreat should be one of those.
oh, it's going to be so tell everybody, what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, we're going to Gettysburg to check out the battlefield. There's a program there that is has a lot of roots in the military and how they organize and then execute on their planning, which is largely tactical, but will apply, I think, to business as we know it um, on a day-to-day basis. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, in addition to the education that we're going to get, of course, there'll be some social there too. So looking forward to that also.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think the social aspect, you've been great. I mean, what is it? The pledge representative to the social committee. I think
Yeah, that's my
officially,
title.
yeah, you've been officially given that title, and you fulfill that well. So we love having you. We love having you in that role. That's a
Yeah,
good.
it's fun.
Absolutely. So, Chris, a big part of what we do is in the executive session, we do the issue processing. And it's a simple model of, how do I, and you fill in the blank. And then we keep people out of solutions. We ask questions around depth and breadth about the issue. Then other people will give their version of what they're hearing as the how do I statement. And then when the individual who posed it finalizes their how do I, we then open it up to ideas and suggestions and solutions. So you've been in the barrel a few times on that. How has the issue processing worked for you? And uh, and then what have been your observations in the issue for the issue processing with others?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's more or less indefinitely a hot mess. So, but especially Inception, maybe more so than today. So there's, I think all of us face, tons of challenges every day, and they weigh on us. So I think it's very beneficial as a member to have that format because there are people sitting in chairs that are facing the similar issues to you, but don't have any vested interest in the outcome except to try to get you through it. And so while the questions can be painful and pointed, and the comments can be painful and pointed, it also helps you to work through uh, almost an accelerator process of getting down to what the problem really is and what there is that can be done about it. So I like that. Geez, I bet I bet I've been on the board 6 times, and then you know, and then you get to put your name gets to be put onto a follow up list, and it has to be revisited in a certain time frame to see what kind
Yeah,
of progress you made, which is good because same thing. If you're an executive, you are not held to the same accountability as everybody else as a general rule, and so as a result, I think it's also beneficial because you know it kind of makes you uh, get after it a little bit and try to
yeah,
make progress.
yeah. Particularly for those who own their company, like you do. It's
Right.
I'm really the only one you're accountable for or accountable to is the person in the mirror in the morning when you shave,
Right.
and and it's easy to let things go. And what's great about our group, and we do it in a fun way, but people hold you. Well, what do you mean you didn't do that? Why didn't you do that?
Yeah.
And that's yeah, people find value there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so another issue that I know a lot of prospective members ask me is, "Oh gosh, the time. I don't have the time." And so my response is typically two things. One is, well, all 30 of my CEOs are in similar situations. And the second thing is, part of that is what we discuss, and that is finding ways to spend less time in the business so that you can spend more time on the business. And to me, you're just an incredible example of someone who's really worked hard at that, and that's a lot of what was behind the holding company and so forth. Um, but how is it you find the time for our monthly one-to-one as well as making that commitment for an all-day meeting every month?
Yeah, it's sort of a you have to make time for it. But after you go to a few sessions, I think that you walk out of there thinking to yourself, "Wow, I can actually get my life back here if I do go through these processes and do stop working in it so much and rather working on it being the business." Yeah, I
Yeah,
think but it takes some doing because I can totally understand what they're saying. I don't have time for that. I don't
yeah,
have time for it either. But had I not made time for it, I would still be on the weekends every weekend. And you know, it's hard on your relationships, it's hard on your marriage, it's hard on your golf game, it's hard on your friendships. To spend an extra 20 hours a week on the weekends working in the office. It's not. We still do it, of course, but not to that extent.
right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, good. I appreciate you making the time, and it's the obligation you have not just to yourself, but we have an obligation to one another, and I think that you model that well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and the issue processing. For me personally, when you get when you have 1,000 things going on at once, which we all do, and you have no time, which we all do, and you have to prioritize on the fly, and decide on what you're going to address first. Many times driven by the financial impact of what has to happen first. You can lose perspective pretty quickly on things like you know retaining your best employees because it's not that you're not aware of it. It's just that it's not what's an emergency right that minute. And so, that issue processing process is very valuable, I think, because it helps you to focus on at large what really is important.
So, Chris, a key component is not only the meetings and getting to know each other, though I think that is the most important. That we also have our monthly one-to-one. So, can you describe, what has been your experience with those, and what value have you received with the one-to-ones, and and how they're a part of the whole?
Yeah, sure. For me personally, the one-to-ones are very valuable. It's basically um, like coaching, uh, is as much as you want or as little as you want. It can be working through a project, a process, a crisis, or just looking for ways to make things simpler, more clear, and hopefully more manageable. So I really like the one-on-ones. Rick, you're a great coach, but it also gives you a little bit of a safe place in terms of if you have something you're working through that you're not really willing to share in front of 20 other people.
Yeah,
So I like that format.
yeah,
And it's manageable. It's 90 minutes, and so you know the time commitment for that's pretty skinny. But I derive great benefit of it from it. Um, a lot of it's just management techniques that I didn't learn. I didn't get an MBA or I don't have a doctorate degree or anything like that. So management techniques or even ideas on you know the observation of what other people might be doing and how that could apply to me and my professional career.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
yeah,
Um, the next question is really about, so as you step back and think about the group, and you're in our Thursday chief executive group. So, how would you describe the group, the culture of the group? What if you were, chatting with a buddy and saying, "Well, let me tell you about the group I'm in."
yeah.
What comes to mind?
Well, this is different than networking or like, you know, business to business sales or working on, grooming your project team to, work with, new customers. It's not really, and it's not really like that. It's more of an investment into the professional paths of the people in the room, which could come from a whole variety of industries. You know, so that's pretty. It's pretty. Um, it's intense. Typically the subject matter is fairly avant-garde, but it's intense in the sense that it prompts you to get better, to get a deeper brain stimulation. Um, I personally come out of there, mentally exhausted on a pretty regular basis because I don't know if it's the content or just the way it's said, or just being in a room where there's not the phone ringing 24 hours a day, or you sort of having people coming into your office trying to work through problems. As a small business owner, that is, you kind of live in that world and you get acclimated to that world. So,
Yeah,
does that make sense?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you are uh, very committed to building your group as well. And I know one of the sayings that we have in Vistage is that if you build your people, they will build your company. And
Right.
I think that really holds true. And I know you have two of your direct reports, your C-suite members, two P&L owners actually, who are in our key executive group, and you also have two people who are up and coming, and two people in the emerging leader group. So, what expectations do you have as you think about your your colleagues participating in Vistage, and what value have you seen from their involvement in these programs?
Sure. So I have two people in the key group and two people in the emerging leader group.
Yeah.
My emerging leader group um, are guys that are, I guess you could say, just not as far along in their career path, but show great potential. They seem to really like it. I think that the subject matter is stimulating. Um, when you're what you might call middle management, scratching at the upper management in that spectrum, there's a lot of resistance from above in many cases, because people feel threatened, or they want to take the credit for whatever it is that's happening. And so it's interesting to me to put a couple people in the emerging leader program so that they can see, that there are other people just like them fighting the same battles every day, trying to work their way up the ladder. Um, so that experience has been good. I think those guys meet. What is it? Once every other month, Rick? Does that sound right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So their time commitment is different. In a sense, it's less if you want to look at it that way. Um, but it does. My people like it, and I've found it to be very interesting so far.
Yeah. Good.
Um, yeah, yeah.
And I
Uh,
think for me, and it's one of the things that some of the old timer chairs have shared, and that is that it's not only the development of your direct reports, particularly, but I get to know them as well, and so I become a more valuable resource to you and more valuable to them since I'm working with you. But it really gives me a couple other sets of eyes into your company, and so it's a kind of an exponential data point for me in understanding your company, and hearing your leadership from their perspective enables me to work with you more effectively. So it is that it builds on itself, and I think that's been in as short a time as we've had the key executive group, that's really panned out. It's been great.
yeah. Also, the key executive group is interesting because they see the same speaker that we see in
That's right. Yeah.
in our group, and so they're you know in most offices, including mine, historically, what happens is the boss goes to some retreat or something and comes back and says, "We're going to change everything," and the people, the people that are running the company are like, "Oh boy, here we go." you know, I am certainly guilty of that.
Yeah.
I'm like the poster child for that. But interestingly, though, if they see the same speaker that we see, then they're uh, they're eager to talk about it, and in some cases, even try to implement some of what they're learning,
Yeah.
which is great because if you have three people doing that instead of one, it makes it. Now, I'm sure the people downstream are like, "Oh, here they come," but I actually think it helps make progress. Because the other thing is, and I'm guilty of this too, there's so much information out there. You might go into a seminar or something, come out, go back to your office, and say, "We're going to do this, this, and this," and then in about 4 hours, your days come unraveled because there's every emergency known to man, and it just never happens. And it's
Yeah.
just, so I also think it helps with that. I guess you could say the implementation of that. You know,
Yep. 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 That's great. Well, really well said. Thank you. So as you step back from all this, Chris, and we go to the balcony, my balcony analogy, and
yes.
we step back, and you and I have a conversation as we both watch you dancing down there on the floor. What would you say the impact of Vistage has been for you, both personally, from a professional perspective as well, personally and professionally? How would you summarize the impact for
Yeah.
you?
Well, it's been a pretty profound difference for me in the course of it over a year. A lot of it is just in the way that I'm working. Um, the the delegation, identification, and delegation of stuff that you're working on to people that work for you. It seems easy, but it's hard. In my case, at least, it's hard to let go. And so, working through that has had a profound difference in my personal life, also because as a result, what that means is that I am not at the office all 7 days every week, which is what it was. Also, the bringing organization and clarity to the path that I'm on, and insights to the way other people are working is very valuable for me. Um, I, I don't have any trouble sleeping, but my stress level is down a good bit. And then, I would also say, in a professional sense, for the businesses themselves, it has brought it's been a big change. And a lot of it has to do with communication, but it's brought a big change and reduced the friction internally because it's a lot more, it's clear, it's more clear for my people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. And the last question I have, so some folks listening to this are considering Vistage.
Yeah.
Uh, what advice would you have for them, as for anyone really who is considering whether they should uh, join Vistage or not? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say, if you examine yourself and your lifestyle today, um, it's likely that you're pretty busy or overwhelmingly busy. And if you want to get some of your life back and leverage your best people to use their God-given talents to help propel the business, this is a worthwhile thing to look at. I'm you know the the programs themselves are absolutely worth it, but it's also very valuable to meet the people inside because they are going through the same things that everyone else is. It's all relative, right? But it's pretty inspiring to meet people who are building these awesome companies that uh, all around us, and they're on their journey at some point. Maybe they're ahead of you, maybe they're behind you. I know for me personally, like you know getting to know people who are at the end of their path where they're considering exit or they're considering getting out or selling or retiring or whatever. That's a stage of life that very few of us think about until we're right there at the finish line. And So
Yes.
it's great to watch how other people are handling
You wanna
that.
do that? Okay, so
You know,
just
I think
just
it's
so you know,
it's a
we
great
have
way
a
to
we have
both
a $250
increase your business
service fee
capacity,
plus repair,
and
okay?
also reduce the demand on your personal lifestyle. So,
Plus the repair.
yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
I do not
Well,
have
Rick,
I appreciate you taking the time
yeah,
and being with us, and we'll see you in a
I'm
few
not
weeks.
sure, but it's
yeah, I'll see you soon.